Hey, this is Sara Oehler here with Softflex Company. Today I'm going to show you how to make a quick and easy pair of earrings using craft wire and WigJig. So this is the first earring to give you kind of an idea of what I plan to make in this video. I am using a 20 gauge Softflex craft wire in our gold silver plated color. It comes in lots of different colors. You could by all means change it to a silver or even a purple or a blue or a green depending on your desire. And the craft wire is a copper based wire. It has sometimes a silver plating like this one does, sometimes not. And then it has a color coating and a polyurethane coating, which makes it hypoallergenic and also non-tarnishing. So it should always stay this beautiful bright gold color. If you're not familiar with the WigJigs, they're wonderful. They are basically a clear pegboard, and these pegs can be moved into different patterns, and that can help you to create consistent shapes. So today I'm making this rectangle shape using the WigJig with the 20 gauge wire. So to get started, I always like to roll out some wire and use my nylon jaw pliers. So basically the tips of these pliers are made with nylon, and when I roll those over the top of my wire, it's going to straighten it out and get any kinks or bends out of the wire. It's also going to start the work hardening process, which is what will hold the wire in its shape. I also always like to start by using the flush side of my cutters, which is the flat side, to snip just a little bit of wire off the tip so that I know that I'm working with a nice flat flush cut. And then to start out just about any project with a WigJig, you're going to make a loop. I like to just use my round nose pliers. I use about the middle of the plier. You know, every pair of round nose pliers is different, but I found that's a good size to match the pegs on my jig. I am going to slide this guy, and this is a little tricky because I want to stay where you guys can see me pretty clearly. Let me move these over a little bit here. Okay, so I'm going to slide my loop onto my first peg, and I'll definitely make this pattern available, but you can see I have 2 pegs down here, 2 pegs up here, and then just 1 little peg to the right. When you're using a jig, you want to actually turn the jig and guide the wire. You don't have to pull really hard. You're just going to sort of guide it around the pegs. So I've got my square shape. And now I'm going to take, again, the flush side of my cutter, and I'm going to cut just to the side of this peg. Right there. Okay, and that's going to kind of flounce out, but when I connect it, it'll all come together. So I'm going to go ahead and take it off of my pegboard, and I can kind of put that aside. And let me wrap this up too so it's out of the way. Okay, so the next step to make this earring is I actually want to bend this guy here so that he is coming up. So I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm just going to line them up so I'm going to get about the same distance. So I want to make sure it's similar. That's probably about the same. And then I'm just going to do a nice little bend, and that'll bring it up to the center. And then on this side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my round nose pliers again. I'm going to use the tip this time, and I'm just going to turn a circle, and then I can actually link that together like that. And then I want to close that down, obviously, so that doesn't come out quite so easily. So I'm going to kind of hold it tight, and then I'll use a pair of chain nose pliers to tighten it all down. And then that should give me my rectangle shape that I'm going to use. for this project. So the next step is I'm going to take a piece of 24 gauge craft wire. It's the same color as the 20 gauge, the gold silver plated. It's just a little bit thinner, so it's going to be a little bit easier for wire wrapping the beads onto this earring. I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick fold. This will be the bottom. Then I can slip this on, and I'm just going to wrap this around the bottom a few times, as tight as I can get it. That's going to start my process. It's a little tricky at first, but you'll find once you get it going, you should be able to get a few good solid wraps down there. Let's see. I'm using the thinner gauge because the thinner gauge is going to have a much easier time going through the beads, and it's also a little bit easier to manipulate. So when doing something like this, which is a little difficult to get the right tightness to wrap at the bottom, you want definitely a thinner gauge of wire. You don't want something too thick. I'm going to go ahead and snip off my extra wire on this side, and then I'm going to make sure that that end is tucked. So where I just cut the wire, I want to make sure it's tucked in, it's not going to catch on something. So I'm going to use my chain nose pliers just to push it down. And then this isn't quite in the middle where I would want it to be, so I'm going to wrap again just to get it to where I want it to be for this project. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now that I have it centered, I'm going to go ahead and string my beads onto the wire. So I am using a size 11 seed bead in a turquoise color, and then I'm also using these tourmaline tubes, which are all different sizes. I had to sort of measure them out to make sure I was getting kind of the right length. So you want to make sure you have the right number of beads. You can definitely use crystals, check glass. You could do all seed beads. So there's lots of different options here. These tourmaline tubes are probably not something you're going to find very easily, but there's so many other beads that you could use in a pair of earrings like this. So don't feel like you have to find these exact beads in order to replicate this design. And again, I'm not doing a specific order. You know, the tourmaline tubes are all different sizes. You could use other gemstones too. You could do a peridot, or you could do an amethyst. So many different options. And I'm doing one seed bead, one tourmaline, one seed bead, one tourmaline, all the way to the top in no specific order. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and wire wrap this to the top. So all I'm going to do is wrap my little wire around the base here so that it attaches at the top. And make sure, there we go. And it looks like I just wrapped it once on this one, so we're going to do the same thing on the second one. We don't want to change the pattern from one earring to another. Go ahead and clip that. And then I can just tuck that down again with my chain nose plier. You always kind of want to tuck in those ends so that they don't ever stick out. And one last thing to do here, I definitely want to clean up this loop a little bit just so that it's not, so it's fully closed. And last but not least, I'm going to use my chain nose pliers to open up my ring on my ear wire, and then I can go ahead and slide that on, close it back up, and I have completed my second earring. So that gives you kind of a general idea of how to use a a WigJig. And you can do all sorts of different patterns. Of course, I did a rectangle, but you could do an oval. You could do a square. You could do a triangle. You could do all sorts of different shapes and then actually bead within the shape using a thinner gauge of craft wire to add the beads. If you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We try to load a new video once a week. And we also load them on Facebook. You can search for us on YouTube or Facebook with Soft Flex Company, 3 words. And also, if you like our products and want to learn more about those, you can always go to our website. We have several hundred free project ideas there as well. So that's a good place to learn all about beading. And that is www.softflexcompany.com.